In this video, I want to talk to you about assessing social context when developing a negotiation strategy. We've identified negotiation strategies including orientation, objectives, and tactics. Orientation being your disposition, tactics being the things you do to achieve your objectives. Your objectives being the way you're trying to affect the counterparty or the context of the situation, so as to ultimately achieve your ultimate goals. Okay. Now, with that being said, before you can jump into planning those various aspects of a negotiation strategy, you need to have a certain amount of information. Okay. Now, we've identified the things that you need to assess as being yourself, the counterparty, the context of the negotiation, and now we want to talk to you about the fourth and last aspect, the social factors or the social context of the negotiation. And what does that mean? What are the social aspects? Well, to start with, people are not, despite what economists believe, are not entirely, or many economists would believe, are not entirely rational actors. Okay, we are heavily influenced by outside factors, right? Some of those being social factors, such as customs. Okay, how is this normally done? And it is our disposition that this is how it should be done because this is normally done. Our habits, right? If we have a tendency towards something, right? This is what we normally do, like, or we have done in the past type scenario, right? Or we tend to act in a certain way. That's a habit, and it can influence the negotiation process. The situations at play, or the situations to which we've been exposed in the past, all right, that can again create some level of mental element there that influences us in the negotiation. Culture and norms. Culture is loaded with various ways for doing things, some perceptions about what is right and wrong, what is just and fair, what is okay, what isn't, that type of thing, right? So those, again, have to be considered. Religious doctrine is probably one of the greatest drivers in terms of our perception of things. Whether we believe that lying is bad or not, depending on the nature of the lie. Whether harming someone to help someone else who needs it more is a bad thing, right? Religious doctrine influences so much of our core understanding of values, what we see as moral or unmoral, and allows us to draw up our own ethical code, right? So again, that can affect the social context of the situation because we often project what we believe onto the other side. Laws. Absolutely. Laws will guide what you can and can't do in the scenario. We tend to avoid things that are prohibited under the law and see what is not prohibited as being the boundary of what is okay oftentimes, right? Of course, again, that is tempered by what we see as ethical or moral. And then political pressures, right? Or pressures from third parties in the outside, okay? And some of those pressures come from the job environment, from our social, from just our familial environment, our social friends, that type of things. Which brings us to the next element. What relationships are at stake in the negotiation? Are you negotiating with someone that you have some level of relationship with, familial, friendship, work relationship, some other tie to the person, right? That will affect the context of the negotiation. So again, assessing that, understanding the nature, intensity, depth of the relationship, that type of thing. And then lastly, are you negotiating collectively with others as a group, as part of a team? Or do you have coalitions with others outside as part of the negotiation process? Because then you have to take in the interests of others, right? So your interests have to be melded together to come up with one specific agenda or objective for how you're going to pursue the interest in the negotiation. What are going to be the parameters and context in which you're negotiating, right? And we have specific series on both relationships and groups, coalitions, and teams in this series, but it's important to at least understand and assess those up front when developing your strategy.